Hello, everyone, and welcome. We will allow a few minutes for people to log in before we start the program officially. In the meantime, please enjoy these messages dedicated to this year's Spencer Brandeis recipient, Betty Nordwind. Enjoy the slideshow.
Thank you. That was a surprise. That was a surprise, yes.
It was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So welcome, everyone, to this installation of officers and the presentation of the Spencer Brandeis Award. I'm Paula Kane, the chair of the Family Law Section since July of this year. Ordinarily, we have a dinner dance to install our officers and to celebrate the Brandeis recipient. But this year, because of COVID, we are in a completely new era. So this is our first Zoom installation. I believe we have an informative program for you, and I hope you will enjoy it. In addition to the installation of the section officers and hearing from Betty, the recipient of the Brandeis Award, you will also hear from 3 of our judicial officers. You will hear from Commissioner Angela Villegas, who sits in CCW and hears child support cases. You will hear from Judge Firdas Doherty, who is in Van Nuys and is a home court judge. And you will hear from Judge Christine Bird, who is a long cause judge in Moss. They will each talk about the best practices in their courtroom during this time of virtual hearings. Time permitting, the judges will take questions at the end of their presentation. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a button that says Q&A. And if you type your questions there, I will be watching them. And if we have time, each judge will answer the questions. Just remember that you cannot ask case-specific questions. To get started, I want to introduce all of you to the other board members who are being installed today. Unfortunately, we can't meet in person, so hopefully I think we can highlight each person's picture. First, it's Steve Mendel, Chair-elect. Steve, raise your hand. We have Abbas Hadajian, who is the Vice Chair. Abbas, raise your hand. I can only see so many screens at one time. Hi, Abbas. We have Stephen Kowalty, who is the Secretary. And finally, we have Dina Kleeman, who is this year's treasurer. In addition to these board members, I want to tell you a little bit about the executive committee. The executive committee consists of 26 lawyers and 13 liaison members. Unfortunately, I'm not able to introduce all of the other members to you, but I hope you saw your names at the beginning of the PowerPoints to this program. All of them work very hard to assist our board. We have lawyers from all over Los Angeles County, from Calabasas to Long Beach, to Alhambra, to Pasadena, and east to Chino. Our liaison members include family law judges, including Supervising Judge Lawrence Riff, Assistant Supervising Judge Shelley Kaufman, Judge Diana Gould Saltman, and Judge Veronica Safsida. We also have a liaison member to the barristers section, to the nonprofit family law section. We have mental health professionals and forensic accountants. All of these people put in a substantial time to make our section great. Turning to the installation, it has been a tradition to have the supervising judge of the family law department do the installation honors. So I would like to turn this program over to Judge Lawrence Riff, supervising judge of the family law department of the Los Angeles Superior Court. Judge Riff will administer the oath to the directors for this year's term, which began July 1. Judge Riff.
Thank you, Paula. So it truly is an honor to introduce Paula Kane, Stephen Mendel, Abbas Hadjian, Stephen Kowalty, and Dina Kleeman. Directors about to be sworn in, would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I'm going to administer the oath of office. I do solemnly affirm that I will diligently support and promote.
I do solemnly affirm that I will diligently support and promote
the mission of the Los Angeles County Bar Association Family Law Section.
Mission
of the Los Angeles County Bar Association Family Law Section.
And to the best of my ability.
And to the best of my ability.
Faithfully and vigorously discharge the duties of the office.
Faithfully and vigorously discharge the duties of the office
upon which I am about to enter.
Upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you. You may put your arms down. You have now been installed as the officers of the Los Angeles County Bar Association Family Law Section for 2020-2021. And now I turn over the program to David Yamamoto. David?
Thank you, Judge Riff. I want to congratulate the new officers and the executive board. I also want to congratulate Betty on being honored today. Paula, while on the executive board and while moving up the chairs as an officer, I was able to observe the work you did as our continuing education chair and the chair of the Sorrel Trope Trial Institute. It was impressive. I remember back in 2013, at the very last minute, our chair at the time, Lynette Roberg, asked you to put on a continuing education program, and you were up to the task. I think you only had a couple of weeks or a week to put it together, but you put together an excellent evidence program that was held at the Universal Hilton that sold out. I was there, and it was definitely one of our better programs. I remember that you put the script together, you directed the program, and it was excellent. The fact that you were thrown in at the very last minute to put on this program was also very impressive. Then I experienced you as the continuing education chair. You put together innovative programs. We could count on you to put on the programs. You put on some very good programs on discovery and attorney's fees and costs. And I recall that you also had the attorney's fees and costs program in the evening, which is one of the first dinner evening programs we had for a long time, and it was a success. Then there's our Sorrel Trope Trial Institute. I remember that the idea of a trial institute had been bantered about a bit for a couple of years. And when Judy Bogan became our chair in 2017, I believe she worked with you. You guys got together and came up with having an annual program on the ins and outs of trial. And what better name to attach to our trial institute than Sorrel Tropes? Thus the name of our program, the Sorrel Trope Annual Trial Institute. The program has been super well received. I believe you've had 3 programs since 2017. Unfortunately, we couldn't have one last year, but I believe we're going to have one this year. Again, Paula took on this task with unbelievable energy and commitment. She enlisted Steve Klodny and Ron Brote to assist her. She put together excellent panels of experienced and well-respected attorneys and judges. And it is now one of our signature programs, along with the Family Law Symposium, the Child Custody Colloquium, and Minors Counsel Training. I have continued to have discussions with Paula, and her commitment to improving our family law community is even clearer now than ever was before to me. I've said this before, I'll say it again, that we are in excellent hands with the leadership she is providing. Well, now it's time to pass the gavel on to Paula. And it is my honor and pleasure and relief to pass this on to Paula. Congratulations, Paula.
So thank you, David. Here I have the gavel. And the one thing you never told me was how much time this took. It is fascinating. Thank you very much, and thank you for your support. And I also want to thank you on behalf of everyone for all the great work that you did last year. What everyone should know is that when we had the shutdown, David turned our committee or our section around almost immediately. We transitioned to virtual programs in April, and we had 7 programs between April and the end of June, and all of them were hugely successful. We never had so many attendees, and it was all because of David that we did that. And of course, David, now you're setting a higher bar for me. But those programs to me showed or underscored how important I think belonging to the family law section is. It is what's kept us connected when we were home and without any interaction with everybody else. So David, honestly, thank you so much. And thank you also for taking my phone calls now on what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. I appreciate it. I am honored to be the chair this year. And David, as I said, has set a high bar for me. I look forward to working with everyone to keep the family law section relevant to all of our section members, to keep it innovative and to adapt as need be if circumstances change. Our section has 890 members. That's an increase of 50 members alone since this last July, which, David, I attribute to your work. We are the 3rd largest section of the LA County Bar Association. The only sections that are greater than us are barristers, which is the largest, and the litigation section, which is the 2nd largest. Our section does have an impact. I want to tell you why my involvement in the section is so important to me. And it's really been, I realize, a constant all through my career. I've been a lawyer for 40 years. And I was first introduced to the section by the lawyer I worked for, Stuart Walzer, who was very active in the bar and who insisted that all of his associates attend every CLE program. He also made sure we attended every dinner dance. The dinner dance in those days were big affairs. They were huge. He made sure we participated in the programs, and he introduced us to all the other attorneys when we went to programs and we went to the dinner dance. And I remember that was a big deal for me. Because of Stuart, I was able to meet all the other prominent attorneys throughout Los Angeles. I was able to meet the forensic accountants. I was able to meet the mental health professionals and the other judges. And it really gave me confidence. When I went to court, I at least knew some people or that people knew, that I at least attended activities. So then when I became a sole practitioner, belonging to the section was even more important to me. I am not one who belongs to sections. And when I look at the slide for Feinberg-Mindell with all the lawyers and all the people, it's a complete verse of my law firm, which is me, myself, and I, and my assistant. But once I became a sole practitioner, I realized how important section involvement really was. I wouldn't have known anything if I didn't go to the CLE programs, the dinners, the weekend programs. I met other attorneys by going to the programs. I heard what was going on in the courts. I heard what the judges wanted. I heard what to do in court, what not to do in court. I mean, it was like having a mentor, and it gave me a huge sense of community. And because of the involvement with the bar, I met other attorneys. It wasn't just the ones on the West Side. I met attorneys from all across Los Angeles. So if someone says to me, I need an attorney in Calabasas, or I need an attorney in Long Beach, I have a good referral source just from my connections with this bar. And because the people I know they're involved, it gives you confidence. You know that you're referring someone who is a concerned professional in doing their job. And just names that come to mind that I wouldn't have met had I not been active is Winnie Yang, who is a current member of our board, and Michael Guerrero, who's not a member now, but who was just an excellent attorney. Also, being involved in the programs and either attending programs or working with the judges to prepare programs is what taught me how to think about a case, how to think about issues, how to present a case. I recall several years ago, Brian Lepak and I did a program on modification of support. And we worked with Judge Pachenko, and we met with him several times. And those meetings with him, it helped clarify so much on the law. It helped, I think, teach both Brian and me about presenting our case, what issues to raise, what not to raise. It was just superb. Plus, we provide great materials from our programs are great resources for preparing points and authorities and for strategizing your case. Which all of this leads me to the goals that I have for the section this year. And that is, with all of the social distancing, to stay relevant and closely connected to our members. And we can do that through our listserv, which is such a great resource we have. And just today you saw that Judge Riff announced, and I hope all of you read it, that he has been, that his term has been extended through 2021. He will remain the supervising judge, and Judge Shelley Kaufman will remain the assistant judge, and Amy Pellman will also remain assistant supervising judge. So the listserv is a great resource for everyone, and it's how we can stay connected. And the other way to stay connected, near and dear to me, of course, is our CLE programs. They, I think, are excellent. And I think the COVID pandemic has really worked to our advantage. We, through David, we were able to transition almost immediately to Zoom webinars, and we will do the same. We did Zoom webinars for the Child Custody Colloquium and for Minors Council, and we will transition the TROPE program to a Zoom webinar and the annual Family Law Symposium in the spring. We would have thought the spring program would have been in person, but I think it will be Zoom. And our programs provide you with information on the law, with procedure, with trial skills, and with mediation skills. Because we are now virtual, we can provide programs at more reasonable cost. We can provide them at convenient times. Some can be watched on demand, and you don't have to drive an hour each way to attend the program. Our section wants to provide you with CLE that you need. In addition to the annual programs I just mentioned, we will be presenting 1-hour CLE programs either over the lunch hour or in the early evening. And the first one is scheduled for this December 2nd. The topic will be how to present a trial by video. You will learn firsthand how to conduct your case virtually. So please stay tuned for that. We'll post it soon on the listserv. We are also developing a mentorship program that will match up less experienced lawyers with more experienced lawyers. This should be finalized in the next few months, and we hope it will include a virtual study group opportunity. We're still working on the mechanics of that. So give us some time, but I expect that information to be posted soon. So I guess my pitch is, we want to provide you with programs and resources that you need. We want everyone to be involved. I know I'm speaking here to the choir, but all of you know other lawyers, and please pass on information about the section to the other lawyers you deal with in your cases. I've seen comments on the listserv that say it's always the same people presenting programs, or we're only geared to a certain type of case, but that's really not true. I think we address all of our members. And if you have a program or a topic that you would like to see addressed, send me an email and we will consider it. And if you want to be involved in the committee, in the section, or in planning programs, please send me an email. We have work for you, and I can assure you that it'll make you a better lawyer. It'll make you more comfortable in court. You will learn more about what's going on in our community, in both the bar and the bench, and we would like to have you. So with that, I want to turn to someone who's really excellent in our field. I want to turn to the recipient of the Brandeis Award. So that you all know, the Brandeis Award was established in 1989, and it is the highest honor that the family law section gives. We don't give it every year. It is given to honor an individual who has had an extraordinary impact on the advancement of family law. This year's recipient, Betty Nordwind, I think is one of the best recipients we have had. She is only the 5th woman to receive the award in the past 31 years, and she is the first attorney from the nonprofit family law sector to ever receive the award. I cannot think of anyone more deserving than Betty. Betty, in case you don't know, has been the executive director of the Harriett Buhai Center for 37 years. And in my opinion, Betty is the Harriett Buhai Center. Because he knows her so well, I now want to introduce Larry Ginsberg to you to actually to tell you a little bit more about Betty and to present the award to Betty. Larry is the founding partner of Harris Ginsberg. He has been involved with the Buhai Center for over 30 years, from a volunteer to a board member, to president of the Buhai Center, and now to a longtime supporter. So Larry, please take over.
Thank you. Thank you, Paula. And good afternoon, everyone. I am incredibly honored to be participating in this event, and particularly to have been asked to present the 2020 Spencer Brandeis Award to my dear friend, Betty Nordwind, Executive Director of the Harriett Buhai Center for Family Law. I have known and worked with Betty since first being introduced to the Buhai Center when I was a law clerk at Trope & Trope about 35 years ago. I've been exceedingly fortunate in my legal career and in so many additional ways to have 2 great mentors, the first of whom was Sorrel Trope. The second was and remains Betty Nordwind. Betty is a force. She is a tenacious force for good, for balance, and for the empowerment of the less advantaged and the powerless. She is, and I mean this in the most admiring and loving way, the personification and brilliant combination of my grandmother's spirit, my father's wisdom, my father adored Betty, of the students with whom I studied at the School of Social Work in Madison, Wisconsin, and of the smartest and most passionate litigators I know. She brings all of these qualities to her work with the Buhai Center, to its talented and equally passionate staff, attorneys, and volunteers, and to her service of the disenfranchised and the less fortunate. When Betty and I were discussing this award and what I wanted to say, and this will come as no surprise to anyone who knows Betty, she wanted to speak about the center, the work that it does, the community it serves, and of course, the need for the continuing and generous support from the family law community. She's very clear to remind me that this award is not about her and any position she may hold, that there is in fact no, quote, cult of personality, close quote, with regard to her work with the center. In other words, in clear and true Betty style, she does not want this award to be about her. Well, I'm sorry, Betty, but it is. It's about you. From taking part in the March on Washington in 1963, to sending school supplies to Central America while in high school, and continuing through her years of tenacious work with the Buhai Center, Betty's focus has been clear and consistent. We, all of us in this community must give back to our community. We must help the less advantaged and the disempowered. It is incumbent upon us to be aware and to do what we can to make the world around us a better place, a more just place. There are certain phrases which come to mind when thinking about Betty and her lifelong commitment to justice and equal access. For example, from Martin Luther King, quote, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice," close quote. Or the often cited reference to our better angels and how listening to them may guide our actions and our lives. Both of these references reflect the commitment of Betty Nordwind to the world around her. These are just some of the reasons that I call Betty my mentor, and I'm very proud and grateful to call her my good friend. She truly embodies the best in us as people, as practitioners, as lawyers, and is greatly deserving of the award which we give to her today. So having said all of that, and to break things up a bit, I have a few questions of Betty so that she might share some thoughts with us as to her feelings and her thoughts about her career and her life with the center. So Betty, if you wouldn't mind, tell us first what motivated you to take the job at the Buhai Center in the first place those 37 years ago. You're on mute, however. There we go. Wait, do we have you? There you are.
One of the few times I'm on.
Clear.
In thinking about that, I met some wonderful board members who were interviewing me, and one of whom was Isabel Cohn, Judge Isabel Cohn, and many others. They were so lively and so dedicated to the center, which at that point when I met them was about 2-3 years old. They sort of took my breath away, and they were their own marketing committee. So it was kind of love at first sight. I had been, the only time in my life I had a private practice. I had come from Massachusetts, and I really did want to get back into public interest, and they were a very welcoming group, and it was just, like I said, love at first sight.
What do you say, Betty, to lawyers and law students who are considering a career in public interest like you've chosen?
Yes, and my career does go back to, I beat Paula by 10 years. I've been a lawyer for 50 years, of which about 4 or 5 was in private practice, and the rest is all public interest. I say to students that I feel I still feel very energized. I still feel very enthused. I still feel very creative. I've never regretted a day. I mean, maybe some days, but in general, I've never, ever regretted my choice. I tell them I understand their school debt is a real impediment, because when I went to the University of Colorado, the tuition for the year was $3,000. And you can just put a lot more digits on that now. So I say to them, not everybody has to be a public interest lawyer, that, giving back by volunteering or being a donor or being on a board is equally and as very, very, very important. So I encourage them to do something.
So in that line, what keeps you motivated and engaged in the work, in the ongoing day-to-day management of everything you handle with the Buhai Center?
Well, day to day, it's hard to see it, Larry. But in the big picture, good or bad, for some reason, I have fire in my belly. I don't know. It's a blessing and it's a curse. I think, I've tried to think about these things because I honestly cannot answer this to myself exactly. I grew up at a time in the civil rights movement. The civil rights workers were really my heroes. My parents had really good values, even though they weren't particularly a political group. And I feel very connected to the community. When I read the newspaper every day, 3 out of 4 issues I know something about, because it crosses my path, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's incarceration of women, whether it's poverty in South LA, and it makes you feel really connected to the world. So that's what I like.
What do you feel, Betty, is the best part of the job, of the work that you do?
I love the people I work with. As a friend of mine from the Western Center on Law and Poverty, Dick Rothschild, said a long time ago when he was getting an award, he said, I work with the smartest and nicest people in the world. So I've always thought that that summarizes it. I only see the good part of everybody, whether it's, the donors, the volunteers, it's a nice world to be in.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you for sharing those. It is my great pleasure, formally, albeit virtually, to present the 2020 Spencer Brandeis Award to my very, very good friend and our esteemed colleague, Betty Nordwind. So Betty, congratulations from all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. And I have the award.
I was going to try to present it to you in a fancy box, but I couldn't kind of make that happen.
Okay, it's a really lovely award and I really am honored to have it. Well, thank you, Larry, and thank you, Paula. I'm going to just take 30 seconds to post my speech so I can look at it. Just give me a second.
The wonders of virtual presentation.
Yes. I'm very grateful to be recognized and appreciated for the work I deeply believe in and to have a chance to momentarily bask in the glow of this honor. Like Paula, this award has particular meaning since I too started my career at the Harriett Buhai Center meeting members of the FlexCom who became the bedrock of our support and ambassadors of our mission, like Sorrel, like Steve Kolodny, and Steve Mindell, who's the incoming president. I'm only able to contribute, as Larry said, because this is not a cult of personality, because of the tireless efforts of many, many people over 37 years, our staff, our boards of directors, our donors, and our volunteers, and some of whom, like Larry and Steve and Paula, are here with us today. I am particularly happy because I am the first representative of the nonprofit legal community to be recognized with the Spencer Brandeis Award. And hopefully I'm just one of the first of many to come, because it means a lot when you're in the public sector to get recognition from the private sector. I am so grateful to the wonderful work and people I work with at the center and to those in the other legal aid programs in LA, because I know how dedicated they are and how hard they work. The pandemic has made it crystal clear the extreme inequities that exist here and in the rest of our country that we at the Harriett Buhai Center and the other legal aid programs in LA work to address every day. I urge all of you to consider the opportunity to contribute for the public good and social justice as a volunteer or a donor or both. I know that everyone who participates feels better for being part of something that has real meaning and purpose. I'm going to close by telling you the story, a short story of one of our clients who we'll call Elena. A single mom, she got her college degree and all the while had been abused, threatened, beaten, strangled, bitten by her child's father when she came to the center for help. Her reports to the police did not produce any action. At the center, we got her a permanent restraining order, got the DA to initiate criminal proceedings against the ex-boyfriend and investigate why the police had not responded to her pleas for help. She also got the appropriate no visitation and custody orders. She can now live without terror, and her story is one of 1,000 others that we have. It's why we do what we do. There are links to more stories and information about the Harriett Buhai Center and our work on the Zoom chat. Thank you again for all your support. I am truly honored and grateful for my selection for the Brandeis Award. Thank you.
Betty, thank you. Thank you. It was excellent.